Prying parents of Reddit, what secret of your child did you discover that made you wish you hadn't? Not my kid, but a younger cousin 16. I was asked by his computer illiterate parents to fix his laptop. As it turns out his browser was full of younger boy/older guy pronoun. I even found a dating profile where he was looking for much older M. His entire half of the family is very redneck and homophobic, so I cleared his history. When I gave him his computer back, I showed him how to use private browsing. I then apologized for what I was about to say, but felt obligated then explained to be careful looking for anyone so much older as it wasn't legal for a couple years. Yet and due to this, he may be finding some real creepers. I then spent the next 4 years correcting his family and calling them out over their homophobic comments. Played the long game with changing their opinions. My cousin just married his boyfriend and his entire family except for one uncle showed. First time I teared up at a wedding. Edit. Thanks for the gold and the kind words. I never would have thought that something so simple to me would mean so much to so many. As a guy with gay friends, I guess I'm not overly exposed to the trials so many have to go through just to be themselves. Internet hugs for all. My friend and I made a prank video for my girlfriend in high school on one of those original flip disposable video camera things. The prank was us sitting on my bed saying one line of dialogue, "I hope GF never finds out about us," then we pretend to kiss as the video falls to the floor. Now you can only hear us making 6 noises for a minute. Anyways, as funny ideas go, we forgot about it and never let my GF find the video. Fast forward about 6 months and my dad comes into my room shaking, red-faced holding the camera. "WTF is this? I can't believe you did this in my home. You're never allowed to see Tim, my friend, again." I was so scared and hurt that my only response was, "You can't tell me to never see him again. He's my best friend. I do everything with him." I was so flustered that I never even told my dad I wasn't gay. He might still think I'm gay. Maybe I am. I missed him. Not a parent but a child. When I was 8 and in the 2nd grade we had a project involving me having to look my address up online. I barely knew how the internet worked, and this was a time before all the censoring of pronoun from the first page of search engines. My district was coming, and so one of the things I clicked on was a video, a man going to Pound Town on a scrotum. I had no idea what I was looking at, couldn't even tell it was human. But my mom walked in, only to find 8-year-old me mesmerized by this bouncing ballsack on the screen. Judging by her calm reaction, I think she realized that it was an innocent mistake, but I can imagine the thoughts that went in rapid succession through her head in that moment. Back 5 or 6 years ago, my mom got an iPad, and it was the treasure of the household. She didn't let anybody use it, but always kept in her room on a charger, mostly because she's technologically inept. One day my 7-year-old brother was secretly playing Candy Crush on it when he heard my mom coming up the stairs. Not wanting to get caught with the iPad, he put it back on her nightstand plugged in and hid under the bed. What he failed to notice at the time was that not only was my mom coming up the steps, but my dad also. My dad at the time was close to 300 pounds. Since then has lost over 55 lbs. They opened the door, jump on the bed, and proceed to do it with my little brother under the bed. Due to the weight of my dad and mom on the bed, his head was slammed into the ground with every thrust. Poor kid had to endure that for several minutes, and had to wait for the two of them to go to the bathroom so he could make his escape. He doesn't like to talk about it to this day, and I don't think has told my parents about that. All he wanted was to play some Candy Crush. This one is a fricked up one. Brother 1 told my mom that he has been using Brother 2's computer to download music. This is the era of LimeWire, maybe 2007, and saw that Brother 2 had literally thousands of CP stuff on his computer. My brothers were in their early 20s. My mom checked Brother 2's computer and confirms that her child is downloading CP. What does she do? Nothing. She even bought Brother 2 another laptop when his became unusable due to the amount of viruses and malware. 2 years ago, the feds raided my mother's house. Plot twist, they were there for Brother 1. He started to download CP. She now has the honor of having both of her sons in prison and as 6 offenders. Of course she makes it all about herself. It's a shame. Brother 1 was the one who was supposed to make it.
N.
Not even really prying, but Came home from work early one day and heard the shower running in the bathroom my 17-year-old son uses. Then heard some decidedly loud sounds of enjoyment from a female. Figuring none of wanted to deal with the embarrassment of an interruption, I retreated to the living room. About 15 minutes later my son and his girlfriend come downstairs and are quite surprised to see me already home. Figuring this would be a good time to twist the knife a little, I said, "So, what were you guys up to in the bathroom?" Together, my son stammered out, "Well, we had been in the pool and wanted to wash off the chlorine, and we were in a hurry, so we went in together, but we kept our bathing suits on." Then his girlfriend looked at him like he was the world's biggest idiot and said, "That's what you're going to go with?" He looked at her and said, "Yep, that's what happened." She looked at me and said, "Okay, we're going with his story." I told them it sounded reasonable. My kids aren't quite old enough to ruin my view of their innocence yet, but when I was a kid my grandma found my rather hefty pronoun stashed under the bathroom counter one day while cleaning. Had my own small bathroom at the time, got really embarrassed about it until I realized that she just straightened them out into a neat stack and never said a word about it to me to this day. Hell of an old lady. Edit. Forgot I posted this comment and holy hell it blew up. Everyone loves an awesome grandma. When I was about 15 in the throes of puberty, we were going to the doctor, and for my little buddy apparently that was enough to elicit a response. Well, I was trying to cover it up, and my mom would not stop asking what was in my pocket, so I gave up and just said, "It's my penis, Mom." Happy. She was very quiet after that. My brother was trying to print out some trans pronoun pictures once, and the printer wasn't working. When my dad turned the computer on the next day, the picture immediately printed. Edit. To all the people think him ashamed and this brother is actually me. It really wasn't. I'd own the shoot out of this if it were me, and am pretty open about my sexual preferences. My daughter came home one evening smelling a bit like weed. I went through her room the next day. While she was in school I wanted to pinch a joint. I didn't find any weed, but I did find a butt plug in a use condition. I discovered that my son at the age of 13 was dealing pot at his middle school after he stole a scale from the science teacher to weigh some drugs he thought he was getting cheated on. Yeah, he got expelled for 1 year in addition to legal ramifications. He's 21 now and doing well. He also knows my Reddit name. "Hi son, love you, colon." Not quite the question you asked, but my mum did find a letter I wrote to my BF before the days of internet and texting where I described how I was going to give him a blowjob. Cold and look her in the eye for weeks. Even tried to pass it off as English homework. I was 14 at the time. 2 decades later I still cringe when I remember it. My nephew paid for pronoun with my credit card. I mean Pornhub and RedTube exist, man. My wife and I are both retired, so we volunteered to house sit when my son, his wife and their 3 kids spent 6 weeks in Europe last summer. We discovered their video collection and were surprised to find their favorite pastime seems to be hosting gangbangs with my dad as a center of attention while our son films the action. We were floored, but never said a word or let on in any way. They're both great people, loving parents and responsible professionals with great careers, and we're not going to let this kink change our opinion of them in any way. But we do kind of giggle and snicker to ourselves now when they ask us to have the grandkids over for the weekend. Not a parent, but when I was about 15 and in the process of fapping, my mom came into my room without knocking. I was so shocked and at a loss for words. All I could say in reaction was, "I'm just checking if it works." Not sure how that could have changed the situation in any way. Lol, needless to say she always knocked before coming into my room after that little incident. Not really the prying type, but grabbed my 9-year-old daughter's tablet to show her how to get to her Gmail inbox using her web browser. Her email client was misbehaving. There were like 7 open tabs of pronoun, and her web search history had a boys peeing search. Shocked me and the wife. Sh9. That was when we decided it was time for a bit of anatomical and reproduction info. Which, of course, fell to me. My wife was thoroughly incapable. Edit. Yes, she has her own email, and she emails me constantly while I'm gone during the week. I'm a truck driver. She also plays Skyrim and is a level 36 two-hand wielding whirlwind of a gadget. She also thinks Legolas from the low TR movies is, in her words, super hot. So please continue telling me how badly I'm failing at parenting. Not exactly what Op is asking for, but similar situation to many of the comments. I was a teenager, maybe 15 or 16, and we had satellite TV. This was back when the Playboy channel was a thing. Anyway, it was around 2 AM in the summer and everyone is asleep, so I thought. My parents are only 20 years older than me, so they were quite young. I go to the Playboy channel, and it asks me for the passcode. Apparently my dad already had a subscription. So I'm sitting there trying to figure out the passcode, and my dad comes down the hall to get a glass of water and catches me trying to figure out the code. He looks at the TV and casually says, "Your mom's birthday is coming up soon." Puzzled, I replied, "But dad, it's the middle of the summer." "Oh, mom's birthday is in December. Thanks for the passcode, dad." My mum found 14-year-old Mez stash of Anne Cat Gerald pinups. Fortunately no hardcore pronoun, because we'd only had a computer like, 6 months at that point. Wasn't my child, but I used to work in a phone shop, and I was transferring this kid's photos to his new phone. It was the first of that model I sold, and little did I know it had a pre-installed app that showed a gallery on the second home page. After you swiped right, I was explaining how to use it, and the default image the gallery function decided to select was a fully frontal nude photo of this poor kid's junk. Frankly, I didn't know where to look. He must have only been 13, maybe 14. I tried to subtly shift the phone away from his mum, but she had already seen it. He got an absolute public telling off in the middle of the store. Went on for some time, while I was just awkwardly holding this phone with a photo of this kid's dick. AHH. Good times. You get to see some interesting things on people's phones. My mom was going to take my brother's vehicle to get the brakes fixed. She noticed he had a disposable camera on the front passenger seat that was full and had one of her own to take in for development. So she picked it up and dropped it off at the local photo place for development. She sent her assistant to pick them up later that afternoon. Boy, did the assistant and my mom get an eyeful. My brother had been at a country music festival up in northern Minnesota the previous weekend, and the entire camera was full of my college-aged brother getting a blowjob from a woman who was about my mom's age. I wasn't prying, but I did see my daughter's Facebook post to her best friends about when she lost her virginity. She didn't mean to make it public, and shortly after I saw it, she either changed it to a more private setting or she deleted it. And no, I didn't say anything to her about it. My 7 years old at the time, Google search history said Big Bouncy Bobs. I was proud. His mom was devastated. My mum went into my MSN chat logs. When I went to go live with my dad, I was not a savvy rebel, forgot to check don't save, and found all my subbering. I was like 14. She said it was way worse than the I hate my parents type of stuff. A lot of nasty sick stuff in here. Let me add some wholesome memes to the mix. My 5-year-old daughter was riding in the backseat auto bubbling away. Eventually she said, "Daddy, I don't think you know this, but when I was young, I used to pick up little bits of things off the floor and put them in my mouth." "Really? What kind of things, sweetie?" "Pieces of paper, fuzzes, things like that." A thoughtful look crossed her face, like she was trying to make a really difficult decision that would determine her fate. Finally she settled on honesty. "And I definitely ate a flower once."
Ed.
My friend's dad walks into him watching Pronoun, and he accidentally clicked a gay pronoun advertisement. His dad awkwardly closed the door and will forever think his son is secretly gay. This is about parents, but I don't know when else I'll get to tell. One time in high school I came home on a night where I had said I would be staying at a friend's. Walked into the living room to see a porno on the 50 TV screen, but they weren't even watching. They were just chillin' and playing cards on the coffee table while a girl blew some guy in the background. I just go in the window or make ridiculous amounts of noise when I come in nowadays. Not a prying parent, but I'm a nosy son. I went through my mom's phone once in my entire life and I've regretted it since. When I was about 10 I was on my mom's phone and looked at her text messages with my dad. She asked him if he wanted her to bring anything home for dinner and he replied posse never touched my parents' phone since. That my then 14-year-old stepdaughter had a thing for anim pronoun. I mean, hey. Do your Naruto and Pikachu thing. But damn, you're the daughter of two parents. Delete your browser history. This didn't happen to me, it happened to my older brother. Anyways, my oldest brother had moved to Arizona for the summer and he came back, and he has no shame hairs talking to me, and he pulls out a flashlight, but it was still in its box, or whatever, and on the box were two anime girls with big titties, and has like look lol, so we both have a laugh, and go to bed. Couple days later I'm walking down the hall, and I see my dad talking to him. But my brother always has the nervous look on his face when he's embarrassed, and so my dad leaves and I ask my brother what happened, and this is what he said. Dad found my flashlight behind the couch, and at first I was worried, cause I thought he was gonna get mad at me, but instead he tried to comfort me by telling me that has seen worse things, and he said that when he was in the Marines one of his buddies would literally orgasm every time he heard or saw a picture of Sandra Bullock and were looking at each other and just burst out laughing. That's something I'll never forget. Actually found this out from a neighbor who frequented Omegle. I believe that's what it's called when you webcam chat with strangers, and apparently stumbled onto my daughter and her friend putting on a show. Skin and all. I had no idea what to do. I don't have kids, but I found out a former roommate had a bizarre fascination with me. A few photos of me sleeping, and one of my boxers, unwashed and stashed away in her room. I noped the hell out of there shortly after,